Nice to chat with you, my friend. Although it's been a pretty tough
Mm.
2024 for the New England Revs, eh?
It's been brutal, buddy. It's been brutal, especially when you look at you go out and get Caleb Porter. He's won 2 MLS Cups with 2 different clubs. You look at this roster before the Leagues Cup last summer. They were second in the East. They were in the conversation for the #1 seed. They were in the conversation with the Supporter Shield. And since that moment, they've just really hit a wall. The players have fallen flat. And I think Caleb Porter's tried to come in and instill this new system and new identity, and it just feels like a lot of square pegs and round holes right now.
Yeah, I would think that, just in covering sports, it's one of those things where this guy's got the credentials. Bruce Arena had the credentials, and the transition not going well from one system to the next, right?
Yeah, but you also got to remember, Danny, you and I have talked about this off camera. Bruce Arena was also the technical director, so he signed players and signed contracts. And so now if Caleb Porter wants to come in and change any of that, some of those contracts are very difficult to move. And so that's part of the aftermath that I don't think has been talked about enough, is that if you bring in new ideas and a new manager and he wants to move on from some players, some of those contracts you did may not work in your favor. And I think you're starting to see some of the results of that.
So, what are the veterans in that room feeling? As far as what you think they're feeling at 1-6-1 to start the season.
I think they're grasping at straws. I think they're trying to find answers. I think they're a little perplexed because, again, this was the same team that was in the conversation in the middle of last summer for the Supporter Shield. And so I think they're all looking at each other. I find there to be a lack of leadership, to be honest with you, Dan. Now, I'm saying that not being in the locker room, but from afar, I don't see real leaders there. I don't see someone galvanizing the group. And that's difficult when you're trying to instill a new system, new plays, new ideas, new way of going about your business. You've got to have a real continuity within the group. And I think the way last season unveiled itself, for lack of a better way to put it, I don't think they've regrouped enough.
Well, because the season goes like 321 days, I think the way it just seems like it's always a season. And, oh, it's training camp 3 weeks later. Is there a way to fix this in your mind?
Beat Inter Miami at home in front of 65,000 plus. I mean, honestly, Dan, if you can literally take care of Messi, Suarez, and Inter Miami in front of this building, it can really give you an energy that you've been looking for. It can be the convincing point where now the group does come together. It can take away a lot of that anxiety. You can then maybe ride the wave a little bit. Last year, Sporting Kansas City went winless in their first 10 games. They ended up making the playoffs on a ridiculous run late in the year. Maybe a win Saturday in front of 65,000 plus. Maybe that allows the Revolution to regroup itself, but they've got to find a way to score goals. Dan, what do they have? 5 goals or something?
Yes,
They've
it's
got
really
to
bad.
find a way to score goals. And I think that's going to be the most difficult part come Saturday night.
All right, let's talk about that 5-letter word. Whenever you mention it, people go crazy. Messi. What's your thoughts on that and what you've seen from him? And just how big is it for New England sports for a guy like him to be coming and playing at Gillette Stadium?
I can ask him right here, considering since he came here, I've basically followed him and I've been doing his documentary, getting him cappuccinos, driving him to and from the airport, whatever it may be. It's unlike anything I've ever seen, Dan. And I took my girls to Taylor Swift at Gillette Stadium, and I was blown away by the Swifties and the culture and the cult by which that is. That's this times 1,000. Whether you're rich or poor, black or white, yellow, green, it doesn't matter where you come from. He is him. He is that guy. And he is here to beat your brains in. And for all of our New England sports fans that are watching this, he's got the same mentality as Tom Brady, whether he's 32, 36, 24, 58. He's going to try to beat your brains in. And that is where the real pleasure is for me, Dan, because he's not here on a retirement tour. He's here to win, and he's here to stay and to go out with a bang, and he wants to win MLS Cup doing it.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And how would you compare the Swifties to the Messis, if you want to call them that, that are out there?
Based on my social media, I don't want anything to deal with either one of them. They're just not fun.
All right. So, I'm old enough to remember when Pele came here and, made the impact, and we've seen stars like that. Beckham, we all know and remember, but this seems, like you said, a little bit different. This one seems like he's not here for a farewell tour just to say hi to everybody.
No, he's not. It's also the partnership with Apple TV, Dan. There's no blackouts, no restrictions. Every game can be seen in 107 countries. I played against Beckham. I covered David Beckham. That was not the case. Zlatan Ibrahimovic came here and played with the Galaxy. That was not the case. His opening goal against Cruz Azul was viewed over 1 billion times. Why? Because there was no rules. There's no restrictions. And so you couple Messi's impact with then Apple TV in that relationship, you're putting gasoline to the fire. My father was playing in the NASL when Pelé made his debut. He did not see footage of the debut for the New York Cosmos until 5 days after it happened. It's just apples to oranges when you compare it, and that's where the partnership with Apple TV, along with the greatest of all time in the World Cup coming here in 2026, it's just this culmination of basically, as Eddie Q at Apple likes to call it, it's a rocket ship to the moon for the sport. And for where the fever is for Major League Soccer, it's actually very difficult to.
All right, apples. You mentioned Apple like 50 times, apples and oranges and everything else. I get it. You know, okay, you're working for Apple, Taylor. It's great. But why should people tune in? And what makes him the special athlete player that he is? Because every time you just look, it's either a pass or a goal. It's highlight reel stuff. What makes this guy so unique and so special on the pitch?
Dan, there's 4 athletes in my lifetime that they see the line of expectation and the occasion and they outdo it every time. Muhammad Ali, Michael Jordan, Tiger Woods, Lionel Messi. And I know some of our viewers and our colleagues in here in Boston are going to say, well, Tom Brady's in that. What I'm talking about is the level of expectation in delivering. Tom Brady wasn't expected to do this from day one. Lionel Messi was. Tiger Woods was. Michael Jordan was. And then Muhammad Ali. There's very few. On one hand, Dan, you and I could have this conversation. We could do an entire show about athletes outdoing what they're expected to do every single time. Over 840 goals in the professional level. He's 36. Yet when you watch the game Saturday night, it may be the only time you get to see it. And I promise you this, he'll do one thing that you've never seen before. He'll do one thing that leaves you saying, oh my God, I just saw it. And then 20, 30, 40 years down the road, the way my father did with Pelé, I'll be talking about Messi. You can too, because you'll get to experience. It's unlike anything I've ever seen. And for me, it was Jordan and Tiger, Muhammad Ali. Messi's in that company.
Well, you know, it's funny you said that. Bob Ryan wrote during the heyday of Larry Bird, he said, you have to watch every single game that guy plays because something unique, something different, a pass, a rebound, a play, it makes him unique. And I love athletes like that.
I do too, because it is very difficult to consistently show up when you have to. You know, kind of like you and I do for TV. We have such high expectations, Dan, to do that. You and I are in that same. I'm kidding for those of you watching this.
By the way, I consistently show up. You were about half hour late, so you're good.
I was 45 minutes late. Fashionable to be late, Dan.
Nice to see you, my friend. Hope all is well elsewhere and everything else, but it's the MLS season pass on the Apple app. Everyone tune in, enjoy. It should be a blast on Saturday night. Thanks.
See you, brother.